Bilt 2.0 versus top rent credit cards. What they don't tell you. A quick note before we continue. Ads may play during this video. Your support keeps this content free. Now let's jump in. If you've been paying rent every month and not strategically leveraging that expense as a capital efficiency instrument, this video will reframe how you think about one of your largest recurring liabilities. Today, we are breaking down Bilt Rewards 2.0 against the top competing rent credit cards, using the same institutional frameworks that wealth advisory firms charge upwards of $5,000 to explain. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to evaluate these cards against your financial architecture, how to optimize rent as a tax timing and cash flow tool, and which card structure fits your liability profile. Whether you are a business owner, executive, or high net worth retiree, pull up your notes application. What I am about to share is the same capital allocation doctrine that institutional advisors use with clients managing 7- and 8-figure balance sheets. And most people on YouTube are simply not having this conversation. Most cardholders think of rent payments as a dead expense, money out the door with zero return. That framing is fundamentally incorrect. When you apply the rent as a capital instrument framework, rent becomes one of the most powerful recurring levers in your credit and cash flow strategy. In the United States alone, the average renter spends between $18,000 and $30,000 USD annually on housing costs. Directing that spend through the right credit instrument creates measurable cost basis reduction, float period leverage, and utilization optimization, all simultaneously. Let's begin with the Bilt 2.0 core architecture. Bilt Rewards, issued on the World Elite MasterCard platform, has undergone a significant structural evolution. The central value proposition has always been its zero-fee rent payment mechanism, eliminating the processing fees that typically erode credit card returns on rent, which historically run between 2 and 3%. In its 2.0 iteration, Bilt has deepened its transfer partner ecosystem, now including major airline alliances and hotel loyalty programs that allow point transfers at a 1-to-1 ratio. For a sophisticated cardholder managing international operations or frequent business travel, this transfer partner liquidity is not a peripheral feature. It is the institutional core of the card's value engine. From a capital efficiency standpoint, Bilt's 5x multiplier on Bilt dining and 3x on travel, combined with 1x on rent with no transaction fee, creates a tiered allocation framework. The strategic play is not simply earning points. It is compressing your cost basis on non-deductible housing expenses while simultaneously building transferable point currency that carries real redemption optionality. Now, let us apply float period leverage analysis. Bilt's billing cycle, like most MasterCard-issued products, offers a standard 21 to 25-day grace period after statement close. For S-Corp owners or LLC operators who time cash flow around quarterly estimated tax payments, this float period leverage creates a meaningful window. You are, in effect, deploying your USD or CAD liquidity elsewhere for an additional 3 to 4 weeks while your housing obligation is deferred, a structural advantage that compounds across 12 billing cycles annually. Compare this to the competing field. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, frequently positioned as a premium rent-adjacent card through third-party rent payment platforms, charges a 3x multiplier on travel and dining, but carries a $550 USD annual fee. The institutional question is not whether the reserve earns more points per dollar. It is whether the net cost of capital, after fee amortization, justifies its use on rent-specific transactions. When we run the Chase Sapphire Reserve cost of capital analysis, the math becomes nuanced. If you are routing rent through a third-party processor at a 2.9% fee, and your monthly rent is $3,000 USD, you are paying $87 monthly, or $1,044 USD annually, in processing fees alone. That figure alone begins to erode the reserve's annual fee justification before you earn a single reward point. For the institutional-minded cardholder, routing personal rent through the reserve without surgical fee management is not a rewards play. It is a negative yield. The Amex Gold card enters this conversation as an expense allocation strategy vehicle. At a $250 USD annual fee, the Gold's 4x multiplier on dining and U.S. supermarkets does not directly address rent. However, for renters who are also business owners, the Gold's membership rewards currency feeds the same transfer partner ecosystem as high-tier Amex products, creating a unified point consolidation architecture. The liability separation principle is critical here. Using the Amex Gold under a business entity for eligible operational expenses, while routing personal rent through Bilt, allows you to segment deductible from non-deductible spend cleanly. This matters at tax time, particularly under IRS substantiation rules requiring clear business purpose documentation for expense deductions. The Citi Premier card deserves institutional attention for its transfer partner liquidity profile. At a $95 USD annual fee, the Premier offers 3x on hotels, air travel, restaurants, groceries, and gas. While it does not natively address rent, its thank you points ecosystem transfers to over 15 airline and hotel partners, a depth that rivals Chase Ultimate Rewards on a fee-adjusted basis. For the retiree or executive whose primary optimization goal is travel cost reduction rather than rent-specific returns, the Premier represents a high capital efficiency ratio relative to its cost of capital. The strategic pairing here is Citi Premier for non-rent categories, alongside Bilt 2.0 for rent, a two-card architecture that maximizes transferable currency across two separate loyalty ecosystems without redundancy. One concept that is almost never discussed in the rent card conversation is the utilization ratio impact on credit architecture. Routing large rent payments through a credit card monthly can temporarily spike reported utilization if your statement closes before payment posts. For high-net-worth individuals managing multiple credit facilities, including business lines of credit, mortgage applications, or institutional lending, this utilization spike can compress credit scores at precisely the wrong moment. Bilt partially mitigates this through its payment timing flexibility, but the broader principle applies to all cards in this category. If you are within 12 to 18 months of a major lending event, your card-to-card strategy must account for reported balance timing, not just rewards optimization. Now let's address the tax timing strategy dimension that most creators ignore entirely. Rent is not deductible for personal residences under current IRS rules for W-2 employees. However, for self-employed professionals operating a home office, a proportional allocation of rent may qualify as a deductible business expense under IRC Section 280A, provided the space meets exclusive and regular use standards. When you route that deductible portion through a business credit card, you create a clean audit trail while simultaneously earning rewards on an expense that is already reducing your taxable income. This intersection of tax timing strategy and credit optimization is where institutional advisors earn their fees, and where most cardholders leave measurable value on the table. Let us synthesize this into an entity structuring card selection framework. For the S Corp or LLC owner, Bilt Rewards 2.0 for personal rent, Amex Gold or Business Platinum under the entity for deductible operational spend, creating liability separation and maximizing deductibility. For the high-earning W-2 executive or retiree, Bilt 2.0 as the rent vehicle, Citi Premier as the travel and dining layer, with Chase Sapphire Reserve reserved for premium travel redemptions where elevated cent-per-point valuations are achievable. For the capital efficiency-first investor, Bilt 2.0 remains the dominant rent instrument because its zero processing fee structure is irreplaceable. No other card eliminates that friction natively. The verdict on Bilt 2.0's dominance threshold is clear. Bilt wins the rent-specific category unconditionally for any cardholder whose rent exceeds $12,000 annually, which, in most major metropolitan markets across the United States, United Kingdom, and Canada, represents the overwhelming majority of renters. The absence of processing fees alone generates returns that no competing card can replicate when applied specifically to housing costs. The transfer partner ecosystem provides redemption optionality that rivals premium cards at zero annual fee cost. The primary limitation is Bilt's requirement that you complete 5 transactions per statement period to earn rent points, a behavioral threshold that is easily met but must be actively managed. Chase Sapphire Reserve and Amex Gold are not Bilt competitors. They are complementary instruments in a layered credit architecture. Treating them as substitutes is a strategic category error. Before we end, let me summarize the critical insights from today's analysis. First, rent is a capital instrument, not a debt expense. Routing it through the right card structure generates cost basis reduction and float period leverage that compounds meaningfully across 12 billing cycles. Second, Bilt 2.0's zero-fee rent payment mechanism is structurally irreplaceable. No competing card eliminates processing fees natively, making Bilt the unconditional dominant instrument for rent-specific optimization across USD, GBP, and CAD markets. Third, Chase Sapphire Reserve and Amex Gold serve as complementary layers in a multi-card architecture, not Bilt substitutes. Misclassifying them as alternatives is a capital efficiency error that costs you real money. Fourth, entity structuring and liability separation determine which card sits in which role. Business owners must separate deductible from non-deductible spend at the card level to maintain clean IRS substantiation trails. Fifth, utilization ratio management is a non-negotiable variable in any rent card strategy. If a major lending event is approaching, statement close timing must be actively managed to prevent credit score compression at the worst possible moment. Sixth, tax timing strategy, particularly IRC Section 280A home office deductions, creates an intersection between rent payments and taxable income reduction that most cardholders never access. Consult a qualified tax professional to evaluate your eligibility and structure accordingly. The institutional framework is clear. Bilt 2.0 is the dominant rent vehicle. The question is not whether to use it. It is how to architect the cards that surround it to maximize capital efficiency across every spending category in your financial life. Please subscribe for more free institutional-grade analysis and credit card strategy that you will not find anywhere else on YouTube. Click the thumbs up to like if this video has delivered value. Comment below with your questions or content requests. I read every one. Disclaimer: I am not your financial advisor. This content is for educational purposes only. Consult with qualified professionals before making any financial decisions.